again, Don Mattingly's, the Dave Winfields, guys like that growing up, and eventually the Derek Jeters of the world, again, growing up a Yankees fan. And the 90s was a great time for me because they had a lot of World Series championships. And as far as influences, I'd say, my Uncle Joey was a big influence on me. My dad, surprisingly not a big sports guy, but always tuned in with the family. You know what I mean? If there was a big game or a big fight, he was always there to tune in with us. And he was usually grilling burgers or something in the backyard. But my Uncle Joe was a big boxing fan, got me involved in boxing. The whole family was involved in the Chavez and Tyson fights growing up back in the day. That got me involved. And, just growing up in a Yankees family, I think got me involved into sports. I never thought I'd make a career in it. I'm not sure if that's what I'm even doing, but I'm having fun talking about it.
Yeah, I'm a big Yankee fan too. So here from Jersey, New York area. So obviously big Yankee fan, and so far they're having a great season, but struggling so far a little bit. Hopefully we can bounce back. Even we're like 4 games over 500, but they need to start playing better. But
right
now going to your Covino Rich show, how did this come about? And obviously you guys are fun, entertainment, not only sports, but you talk about like dating and people, like women and everything. So how did this come about?
Well, that's the thing with Covino and Rich. We found a place in the sports world. We were doing TV at SNY in New York since 2013, now ESPN. But we always stayed in our lane. We're fans. We're just fans. We're not experts. We're not former athletes or professional athletes, I should say. I like to consider myself a former athlete. But, we're fans of the game, and that's how we got involved. And, I was a radio fan. I don't like to put myself in a box where I'm just into sports. I never was. I've always loved music and entertainment and TV and movies just as much as I love sports. So when I met Rich, it was the early 2000s. He was working in terrestrial radio, Z100 in New York. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
He was the nighttime hottie at the time. And I was on my hustle too at K-Rock, New York, home of Howard Stern at the time. And I was doing everything at the radio station. I was driving the van. I was hanging up banners. I was promoting the station. But I was also a producer for Solid State with Liquid Todd. He was one of my mentors in the radio business, Liquid Todd, who's on Sirius XM right now. And I was also just trying to get on the air and pick up any shift that I could. So I was sort of like a swing DJ. I was on late at night every weekend. And, it's a small radio world. So Rich and I had some mutual friends. One of my buddies, Nico, introduced us. And we sort of hit it off. Like, oh, wait, you like sports? So do I. You like the Mets? They suck. I like the Yankees. Oh, wait, you like, talking about entertainment and movies and pop culture and lifestyle? So do I. We had a lot of common interests. We both were radio dudes who liked sports, and I think we were both single at the time. So we were going out on the prowl, having drinks, having fun, hanging out in Hoboken, New Jersey at the time. Yeah. And just a lot of common at the time. And we said, hey, let's get involved and let's try to do something. I was at Sirius XM in 2002 doing some rock stuff on Octane. And Rich eventually got there doing the hit stuff. The opportunity came in 2004 to do a guys talk radio show sponsored by Maxim. And we said, we do this when we hang out anyway. Let's join forces and let's talk to some people. Let's see who's out there. And now we're one of the longest running shows almost 16 years later on Sirius XM.
Yeah. And also ESPN radio too.
Yeah. That happened about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. We got an opportunity, and I'm forever thankful, knocking on wood for it. And you never know who's listening, man. You never know who's watching right now. And I'm sure you know this already because we were doing our radio show on Sirius XM, and there's a guy by the name of Sean Wyman who always tuned in, and he became a loyal listener. I met him at an event at a Super Bowl party, like 2013, 2014 or something like that. And he said, hey, man, I'm a big fan of what you guys do. I work at ESPN. He handed me his business card. I said, wait a second, that might be a connection we might want to have in the future. And organically, we became friends. We did. We became friends throughout time. And he looked us out. He put us in the right rooms, in the right meetings. And we eventually got an opportunity, from ESPN to do ESPN radio. So Sirius XM allowed us to do that because they already have a partnership with ESPN. And we started doing ESPN radio, and then eventually got our own TV show out of it. And here we are today, 2020. We've been on the air now for almost 2 years doing the TV stuff, and 3 years including the radio. So being part of ESPN, again, like I said before, it's like a dream job.
Yeah. So speaking of, I'll give you a quick example of when people see stuff. All of a sudden, I go to one of my stories to check how many. I don't care about the views, but just to see who looked at my stuff. And then one day I said Antonio Brown looked at one of my stuff.
There you go.
And so I'm trying to get him on the show, but I'm constantly tagging him in my posts so he sees more of it. But yeah,
Well, one thing I know about you is you don't take no for an answer. I tried. No, I'm just kidding. But I know you're very persistent because you hit me up a bunch of times, and sometimes people need that. You know, you have busy schedules. You're on top of it, and I commend you for that, man, because that's how people get ahead. You just got to be on top of it.
Yeah. So my next question here, take me back to your first, not like outside of Rich Davis, but take me back to your first interview, and you're done. And then your first show you've done.
Man, my first interview? I couldn't even tell you. I remember one of my first big interviews was for Octane, and it was an interview with Evanescence right after they won their first Grammy Award. My first interview, that was maybe Shinedown in the early 2000s. My first Covino and Rich interview, which probably meant the most to me when we started our talk show, again, was under the Maxim brand, and it was 2004-ish, and coincidentally, it was a guy that I admired greatly, one of my rock heroes. It was Lenny Kravitz. Again, one of my favorites. So to get that opportunity to interview him and then have him be my first interview was incredible, dude. And I can't tell you what I took away from it other than, you know, it was probably surreal at the moment. But since then, you know, all these years later, I've interviewed so many people. I just remember being very stoked about it. I remember taking a picture and printing it. It was on my wall for years at my house, you know, me and Lenny Kravitz. And it was just the start of so many big moments throughout my career. And I'm very blessed and very fortunate to do what I love, man. And Lenny Kravitz started that journey for Covino and Rich.
So obviously with we're having sports back finally, but what do you guys, so as a sports fan, what do you think of this college stuff going on, especially with the Big Ten now canceling and all these conferences? Do you think they're making the right choice? I mean, obviously player safety is important, but do you think they're making the choice too early, or is it time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you answered my question for me, actually, because that's really how I feel about it. First, I want to say, when it comes to religion, politics, and the coronavirus and college football, I'm a little allergic to all of those conversations. College football, not my forte, because I went to a great school known as Montclair State University. I'm sure you're familiar with. Yeah, as a Jersey guy, Red Hawks for life. But, you know, not a big football school. I actually did radio there. I went to play baseball and everything, but I ended up doing radio, and that's how I got involved. But as far as the college football thing is concerned, man, I feel for these guys. I really do. But no one has the answers, right? I think they pulled the trigger a little too soon on it. They could have said, hey, you know, we are still gathering information, trying to figure it out. Let's postpone the start of the season. And I think that's really where they should have went with it. And unfortunately, I feel bad for these kids. If they postpone it to the spring, that's cool, because they'll still get some opportunities. But for the kids that don't have a season, you know, as Joe Burrow said, he'd be looking for a job maybe.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel bad for these kids to not get that opportunity. But, you know, everyone's in a bad situation. There's so many people that have suffered through this and have cut a tough break. And, you know, the cream will rise to the top, as a great man, Macho Man, once said. Yeah.
So speaking of Montclair University, obviously one of the best colleges here in Jersey. So what's it like now being one of the top radio hosts on ESPN and Sirius XM? What's it like representing that school where you came from, and then seeing you being successful in your job and the job you love, and do you go back? I mean, obviously you can't go back there now, but before this whole thing started, but in the recent years, past years, have you went there to visit them again, just for speaking events?
I have to take accountability here and say, yeah, I haven't done much to give back myself. So I'm on my grind. It's not that I don't have pride and I don't love where I came from. I'm from Union, New Jersey. Go Farmers. I went to Montclair State. Class of '98. I had a great time, great experience. It provided me with my opportunities in my career and an internship, which changed my life. But I feel sometimes, maybe it's just my own fire that motivates me. I feel like no one really gives a crap, to be honest. If you want my honest opinion, I thought I'd get a parade in my behalf or something, but I never got that call. So maybe someday. There's still a lot to accomplish, but I'd like to go back and visit one day. To be honest, they probably want me to make a speech to the students, and I'm an introvert. I'm not one of those guys that actually even wants to do that stuff, but I'd like to give back in my own way one day.
Yeah. So my next question here, do you guys obviously with this pandemic, I'm just you keeping people entertained during this tough time. So kudos to both of you for doing this and for your show. But are you guys currently working on some other big things for your show when it like for the upcoming days whenever you guys have the show again?
It's been interesting, right? For everybody, we had to improvise. The show took on a different life of its own. We lost a little momentum. Now We're Never on ESPN was really getting into its groove. We had just had David Beckham on the show, like international stars and actors and athletes and this pop culture sort of vibe going on. We had a rotating crew of cast members that were on our show, and we were hitting our stride. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic happened. Basketball's sort of done for a minute. The show gets pulled off the air, and we have to now start doing our show online. So our show is now living online Monday through Friday on social media at Now We're Never ESPN. Our radio show really never stopped. We just continue doing it, but from our own houses, right? Technology's given us the opportunity to do all of this. So, hey, thankfully to things like this, like Zoom and other apps, we're able to keep it moving. But I think momentum sort of halted in the sense that even if we did have big things cooking, everyone's sort of like, hey, let's see what's going on. Let's figure things out before we negotiate. But Rich and I are always, for good or for bad, always wondering, well, what's next? And that's what keeps us going and keeps us motivated. So although we're very, very happy and want to continue doing our SiriusXM radio show and our ESPN Now or Never show, we still want to see what else is out there. We want to take things higher and further, and and just to expand the brand so that we can continue and build a longevity. Just so that we can continue doing this for as long as we can. But yeah, we got some things cooking, man. As my dad would say, that's a throwback term.
Yeah.
We got some things cooking, and hopefully, when all this passes, we could start pushing it forward and see what sticks, see what happens.
So,
what I'd like to, I'll tell you what, I'd like to get our TV show at a better time slot. That's the goal. And I'm trying to make that happen right now. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's a weird time slot, by the way.
Well, it is, but it's for the West Coast audience, like you and I, we grew up in the East Coast. We think the whole world revolves around us in New York and New Jersey, the tri-state area.
Right.
Truthfully, there's a whole rest of the country who, lives in a different time zone. And our show is, was originally meant to cater to the West Coast audience, because out here on the West Coast, which is where I live now, as you can see my beautiful fake apartment overlooking the Staples Center.
Oh, you live near the Staples Center?
No, this shit is fake as hell. But I live in the mean streets of the barrio. I live in Encino, California. No, our show is meant to cater to the West Coast audience at 11 p.m. West Coast. So I'm hoping we can start a little earlier in the future when things go back to normal, and we'll see what happens, man. Rich and I are still motivated. We're still hungry, and you have to be to make it in this competitive industry, especially out here in California when everyone that lives out here is trying to be somebody. We're just trying to be better than them.
So, so my next question here, I want to get your interviews with Whittaker and also David Beckham. You just said so. Like for you guys, what do you try and get out from your guests when it comes to questions? I mean, interviews and getting to know them personality wise and off the court and I mean off the field and off the rink. And for me, my goal for my podcast is to learn a lot from them, where they came from or how they got to where they are right now. So for you, what did you learn from the Whittaker interview and the David Beckham interview?
I mean, David Beckham came in as handsome as could be. I learned that I'm not that handsome after talking to him. That's really what I got out of it. I realized that I'm like a peon in comparison to his worldwide international fame. No, but you know what I learned from that? I'll tell you what I learned from that. As a host, right? You got to treat people as a host. Hey, welcome to my show. Welcome to my studio, my set. Can I get you anything? I'm a host. You're just being a host. You're trying to make people comfortable. But at the same time, yes, you're praising them because, I mean, he's David Beckham. These people are accomplished people, superstars, icons, legends sometimes. But I think you disarm them by treating them not like they're better than you, like they're one of your friends or your equals. And hey, we're just hanging out. And I think that's really the only skill that I have is like, hey, I know you're a superstar, but I don't know, maybe it's a false confidence or a crazy ego, but I like to think that, hey, we're still people and we're just having fun, shooting the shit and relax and put your feet up. Let's kick it like we're friends.
All right.
So if you're able to do that, I think you're sort of winning, and you're just trying to get something different out of them by creating that comfortable atmosphere. So like David Beckham, we were just sort of hanging out. That's the vibe I'm trying to create. Like we're I hate the cliche, but hey, we're at a bar. Yo, David Beckham, what's up? The same way I would be with you, Nathan, and anyone else.
Yeah.
And with Robert Whittaker, he's a former UFC champion. And you know what I loved about that? That was recently on Now or Never. I love that I'm talking to a former champion who lost to Israel Adesanya, who I also like, and I've interviewed many times. I like them both. You realize that your alliance to teams is weird because you're rooting for laundry because you really like the individual athletes a lot of times. So I like Robert Whittaker. I like Adesanya. I like particular athletes. But I saw in Robert Whittaker a fire to get that rematch with Adesanya. Although he's got a fight coming up, and he doesn't want to look too far ahead, he still wants to win that belt again. And that's something I can relate to. I think everybody has a fire inside and everybody's trying to be their best. And when I talk to guys like that, accomplished people, I try to see the steps that they took to get there and try to implement that in any way that I can. And realize at the same time that we're not that far off. Everybody, we all have these same opportunities for the most part. Sometimes they just work a little harder, or they're a little more blessed. I got that. But for me, the way I look at it is if you work hard, you got a little luck on your side, you're a good person, and you outlast the rest, you could be great too.
So speaking of UFC fighters, I got the opportunity to interview Frank Edgar on my show a couple months back.
Cool.
Yeah, so
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that was an honor for him to come on. He's obviously from Jersey area, and
yeah,
he has a fight coming up August 22nd, so I'm really looking forward to that one. But my next question here for you. So
congratulations, by the way, man, because that's like, to me, that's a ritual that I appreciate. It could be passing one to the left or having a cocktail. It could be jamming out with somebody. For me, sharing the microphone is the moment that I look for. You brought up David Beckham and these guys like that, or Mike Tyson, who I've had on my show and interviewed.
Oh, wow.
Like the fact that we shared that moment and shared the mic or shared the camera, that is the stuff that motivates me. Don't get me wrong. It gives me anxiety too. I'm like, oh, geez, who do I have to interview today? But when it's all said and done, I love the finished product, and it keeps me motivated when other people enjoy it and I get great feedback. Even negative feedback fires me up.
Yeah. So speaking of Mike Tyson, what are your thoughts on him doing this expedition match with Roy Jones Jr. and do you think they can do a regular fight after this, or do you think this is just for fun?
I love Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's one of my inspirations. Mike Tyson, I can't hear myself on this, so it's difficult to do any impression. But Mike Tyson is one of the most interesting. It's the Dos Equis guy and Mike Tyson, the most interesting men in the world. And I'm all for any sort of entertainment, especially now when the world needs it more than ever. So if
Right.
two old guys want to fight, I'm all for it. It's not me, it's them, and I'm a fan, and I'll watch it. They moved the date. I don't know if you know that. It was scheduled for
Oh,
September 12th. As of today, I believe they moved it to Thanksgiving weekend, like
really?
sometime in November,
What?
just so
Oh
they
man.
could build more hype and
Oh,
more
okay.
people could gather together and they could get in better shape. And dude, I think it's great, and I think it opens a lot of doors. You're seeing a lot of other possibilities. I talked to Robert Whitaker, as you mentioned. He mentioned that he'd love to get in the boxing ring. I said, with who? He goes, I don't know, because I asked him about Pacquiao fighting Conor McGregor.
Mm,
It's a spectacle now. It's for fun. It's entertainment. Not all fights have to be, uh, for the belt. It could be for a charity. It could be for just money, prize fighting. But if it's fun and people want to see it, I'm all for it. De La Hoya is saying he might want to get back in the ring right now. So I love that Tyson and Roy Jones. I think he's going to destroy Roy Jones Jr., to be honest. I think he's too strong and too much of a real heavyweight for Roy Jones. But I think it's great entertainment. And as a result, you're seeing other fights that do matter in the undercard. So if it brings people into the world of boxing, I'm all for it because, hey man, as much as I said before, as I'm into music, I'm also into baseball and boxing, and those are two old guy sports. So if this gets like younger people excited too, then that's great.
uh-oh.
Hold on, my fake living room shut off. I'll turn it back on.
How is that? How did that do that? Wait a minute.
Uh, yeah, it's don't worry about it, man. It's all showbiz. Showbiz.
Oh, so my next question here. So is that fight with Nate Robinson and that who is he fighting still on for September?
Jake Paul,
Yeah.
right? Logan Paul's brother. I don't know Jack Diddley squat about Jake Paul other than he's a YouTube dude and he has some boxing skill because he's had these fights before. Anyone with a little background in boxing, I'm giving the edge to, even though Nate Robinson is a great athlete. So yeah, as far as I know, well, he's being investigated by the FBI. Jake Paul is. I don't know for what, but as far as I know, those fights are still happening, man. And like I said, dude, I make this dumb joke all the time, but I saw two squirrels fighting outside today, and I watched it out of boredom. I'll watch any fight. I watch birds fight, in the trees. I'll watch anything, anytime. I love a good fight, whether it be boxing, MMA, or two hobos on the corner,
Yeah. So
which happens a lot in LA, by the way.
yeah. Um. So I want to talk about the Yankees here real quick.
Cool.
So obviously we started off strong, and all of a sudden, we're losing. Like we win one now, we lose one, but I'm kind of concerned with the injuries now with Giancarlo Stanton on the IL. So, but
Yeah.
what is your take on the season so far?
Well, Giancarlo Stanton, I have a love-hate relationship with him anyway because he's basically like the Rock in pinstripes, right? The dude's a super stud. And every time I'm watching the Yankees, it's the only time my girlfriend gives a shit because she's like, he's got a nice spot. And I don't, in case anyone was wondering. Unless you like a nice flat pancake sort of glute thing going on, then I'm your guy. But Giancarlo Stanton, he's a beastodon. He's a specimen. But you got this shredded specimen coming in 15 pounds lighter this year. You're hoping that, oh, he's back and he's healthy, and then he gets hurt. How could you not be let down? As a fan, look, I'm not paying the guy, so I don't want to be like, we're paying him all this money. I'm not paying him shit. But as a fan, I'm like, come on, man, stay healthy. Health is wealth, and the Yankees need that. So it's frustrating. But by the way, I'm not worried. I think the Yankees will be just fine. There's a lot of teams that stink a lot more than the Yankees do. They'll hit their groove. But what's interesting is when it comes to basketball and baseball right now, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Look at the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
You know,
Undefeated.
Yeah, and look at the Marlins. They're going to end up stinking. I believe that. But these young teams and this shortened or new sort of season and scenario, anything's possible. And I think that makes it more exciting. And whether it be basketball or baseball, I'm tuning in, and I'm still rooting for the Yankees. I still believe that they have the best shot in winning.
Yeah, I was I was so happy when we got Garrett Cole. So what was your reaction when we signed Garrett Cole to the monster deal?
Dude, like I said, I don't care ever about how much are we paying them. I don't get that mentality because nothing is coming out of my pocket. Yeah, as a fan, I get ticket prices go up. I get all that, but I prefer watching from home because, like I said before, I'm an outgoing introvert. Okay, I like sitting on my ass on my couch watching TV more than being at the game. So when they signed Cole, I'm like, sweet, let's do this because he's that missing piece that the Yankees needed. As you know, they've gotten to the playoffs, sooner than I think people expected them to, and they needed one more part. CC Sabathia's gone. He was old. They needed that ace. They needed that ace guy, and he's the guy. And so far, he's delivered. And it could be different, maybe in front of fans and under the bright lights of New York. But right now, maybe this is the sort of start that he needed because no one's there. There's a little less pressure, and he's performing well, man. So anytime the Yankees make a big deal like that and it pans out, I'm stoked for it. So far, so good with him. He's doing well, man.
Yeah,
I tune in every day. Man. I'm always watching. I always got, like I said, I'm just a fan. I'm not an expert. But I got the Yankees on or the game on or the fight, whatever's on, I got it on all the time. But baseball is a perfect sport where I could be scrolling through Instagram, looking at butt cheeks, and still knowing what's going on.
yeah, facts. So, yeah,
By the
no,
way, Giancarlo Stanton's butt cheeks.
no, no. Oh God, you're so funny. But no, I was gonna say my next question here. Obviously, we're playing the Braves today, so that's gonna be an interesting test. In Yankee Stadium, we're playing the Braves. I wonder. I got the Yankees. The outside of Cole and Paxton had a good start, and outside of Cole, the starting rotation hasn't been the what we want. We want right
All
now.
these guys like J Hap, and Paxton have to step up and be the pitchers they're supposed to be. Herman is supposed to come back. It's hard to root for that guy with his tainted past, but I hope he can get, past that sort of scenario when he returns. Severino, had surgery this year, so he's out. So we gotta make these guys work. I hope they do. Luis Sessa, guys like that have to step up. The bullpen has to step up.
Chapman's coming back soon, I think. So
Chapman's coming back. He's already been cleared, from the coronavirus, and now he's working his way back. So, like I said, I'm not worried about it, dude. These guys they're all great. They just have to start pitching and playing the way they're supposed to. But they got a lot of young, great players. I'm a big Aaron Judge guy. I love rooting for him. It's interesting as you grow to see your heroes, come and go. We started off, who were my inspirations? I was like, Don Mattingly.
right.
He's long gone and not forgotten. He's doing his thing with the Marlins right now. But, then Derek Jeter comes along, or Bernie Williams, who's one of my heroes, who I've had the pleasure of interviewing. But they come along and they come and go, and you're like, well, now who's my guy? And this is the first time in my life where I'm actually really rooting for a guy that's significantly younger than me every day. Because Derek Jeter was that last guy for me where he's still older than me and I looked up to him. But now I'm really rooting for guys like Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres in a totally different way. But Aaron Judge is the real deal. And, a lot of people question that or wonder about that. If you saw him every day, day to day, you realize he's got it all. The dude has all the tools. He's got a cannon of an arm. He can play the outfield. He hits like a monster. And he could run the base. The dude does everything. And he's a great dude, an ambassador of the sport. So, a lot of people may be on the fence about how they feel about this guy. I'm here to tell you that he's the real deal.
Yep. And he's having a fantastic season so far,
Yeah.
too.
It's not easy, man, to play, on a big stage like that. It just isn't. And he stepped up and he's following. I hate to sound like such a Jeter fanboy, but he's sort of following that blueprint, and it's not a bad one to follow. I think everybody should follow that blueprint.
Yeah. So so now I do this rapid fire segment with all my guests to come on the show. You ready for this?
Not really, no, but I'll try.
Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Oh man, Kawhi all day. Kawhi, that guy, man, he's an interesting fella, dude.
Yeah.
I love. You know who my guy is though? I think I like Jimmy Butler, man. I like watching him play. I don't know why I do, but I do. Kawhi is a fun guy, but not really. He's relative proximity fun,
Yeah.
meaning most athletes are boring, but he has something weird about him that entertains people, therefore gets that sort of reputation. And I love watching him play, man. And he's great for the sport. And that laugh is something, man. That's one of my favorite sound bites.
Actually, speaking of, Kawhi's been speaking more since he's back home in LA. I guess being back is a big thing for him. So
yeah, he's comfortable, man, and he's growing into. What we forget is how young a lot of these athletes are. They're young. They're figuring out who they are. When I was 25 years old, I was living with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Picking my nose. I still pick my nose, but you're still finding your voice. You're figuring out who you are. So these are young guys we're criticizing and critiquing and judging all the time. They're gonna figure it out. Kawhi Leonard's coming into his own. LeBron James, he wasn't the guy he is now. Not off the bat, not in the beginning. He's always been a great leader. Don't get me wrong, and I'm a big fan. But he wasn't the guy the leader,
right,
when it comes to off the court and on the court that he is right now. So Kawhi, yes, it's cool to see his growth as a person.
Yeah. Favorite food?
Oh, and by the way, can I just say this?
Yeah.
I love Kevin Hart too, man.
Yeah.
You got to respect his grind, his laugh,
Yeah.
and everything else. The guy works hard. He's a hard worker. That's what people think, that things come easy. It doesn't. You have to work for shit. You can't be entitled and you can't be lazy. Kevin Hart is a great example of that.
Right.
He works his ass off. No one gave him shit. And props to him. I'd love to have him on my show. I've had my run-ins with him. I saw him on red carpets. We've said hello, but I've never truly interviewed him, but someday.
Favorite food?
Tacos.
Taco Tuesday.
Yep. Taco Tuesday, bro. And it sucks because, I try to please everyone, but I'm not a taco. So what am I going to do? How could you not like a taco? The question is flour or corn tortilla. And it depends who you ask. If you ask a true Vato Loco, they'll say corn. But I'm only a half-breed Vato Loco, so I'm sort of in the middle. I like both.
I got to ask you this. Has anyone told you that you look like Giancarlo Stanton a little bit?
Not from the waist down, I don't. But no one ever says that. No one ever. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. The guy's a mastodon.
Yeah. So who do you have being in the NBA Finals this year?
Oh man. That's tough. I'm still trying to figure out who's going to win the West, right? Is it going to be the Lakers or the Clippers? I'm still torn on that. What do you think? I'm going I think that I'm going with my heart here. I'm going with the Lakers. And you think the Bucks are going to make it?
Yeah, I think the Bucks will make it, and then I'm going with the Clippers on this one.
Really? Yeah, I know. Most experts would say the Clippers for good reason, right? And I don't think they're playing even full gear right now. I think they're sort of just doing what they got to do right now, pacing it out, figuring things out. But my heart is rooting for the Lakers and LeBron. I just know a lot of Lakers fans. I really have grown to love and respect and appreciate what LeBron means to the people and to the sport. And as an older cat in the league right now, I would love to see him come through with this. So I'm saying Lakers.
What's it like working with Jessica Alba?
Shit. Do I work with Jessica Alba? I wish I worked with Jessica Alba.
No, Richard.
I imagine it'd be a lot of fun. I've interviewed her, and it's funny you bring her up. I just got word it was either this morning or yesterday that she's coming on our show again to talk about some new projects she has going on. Dude,
Wait, what is
I
that?
I don't know. She's got something going on, and of course, she has her Honest brand line
Oh, that's all.
for kids, which is extremely successful. But hey, man, she's a beautiful woman. I'd love to work with her. I've interviewed her several times. She was one of my favorites for a long time, and I still have great respect for Jessica Alba. I think she's beautiful. I think she's extremely successful, and I always support. I always support my brown people, my Vatos Locos forever. So, props to her.
Yeah, man. If you guys don't mind, can you mention my podcast, sir? I would love to have her on too.
Oh, then is this what it's all about? You're just trying to get one step
No.
closer to Jessica Alba? I thought you wanted to talk to me. Now you're using me to get to her. I see your games. The NR hour with Jessica Alba. That's what this is all about. No, absolutely, man. You gotta pay it forward for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And the last two things here before I let you go, this is a question I've been asking to all my guests. Obviously, with the late Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, Mama mentality, and everybody else who was involved. Do you remember where you were at that day, and what did they mean to you?
I absolutely do remember where I was. I was at the airport. I was at LAX right here in Los Angeles. An eerie place to be to get that news. I got a text. And I was like, ooh, and it went right through my body. I'm sure like everyone else, like, wait, that can't be real. Even talking about it now, I could feel it. Man, I hope that's not real. And you're looking around the airport and everyone else is looking at their phone, looking around like, oh my God, is everyone getting this news right now? This is real. And I was at the airport with Rich Davis, who you just recently talked to. We were on our way to the Super Bowl, Miami. And we're really excited to have this great time to do the Covino and Rich Show broadcast for Sirius XM and our ESPN Now or Never broadcast from Miami. We're going to party. We're going to have fun in South Beach. And then we get there with heavy hearts because of the terrible, terrible news, and as a man boy, I feel weird saying man, but as a grown man boy with a daughter, I'm a girl dad too, and it broke my heart. It really did. It's heartbreaking, but it also forced us all to think about something we already knew, and that was that Kobe Bryant was an inspiration. He was a legend. He was a great dad that led by example, and he had a fire in that Mamba mentality that you mentioned that we could all and should all implement in our lives in whatever we do. So, yeah, it sucked, man. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget I was at the airport, and it was terrible, terrible news.
Yeah, and shout out to Ellie Duncan from ESPN. She started that girl dad movement, and she's such an inspiration. We just have to keep the legacy going for Mama mentality too. And
yeah, man, absolutely. And Elle Duncan, she's great, man. I got to tell you on a side note, personal note, to be a small part of ESPN. On Now or Never and ESPN Radio. It's cool to work with all of these personalities that you see on TV, and they've been nothing but welcoming to me. I don't know if it's because they know I'm no threat, because I'm no threat to their career, because I'm doing something totally different. I'm not stepping on anyone's toes, but everyone has been so welcoming, from the Sports Center anchors to, just the other contributors and writers and the other talent there. We've made some great friends in a short amount of time there. And I think you'd really love, as a fan yourself, you'd love all the people that I work with, from the George Sedanos to the Clinton Yateses and all the other contributors that we've grown to know, the Scott Van Pelts, and the Neil and Stans, all of these guys are really great talents, but they're great people at the same time. So props to the ESPN team.
Actually, I'm working on getting Clinton Yates on, and I'm trying to get George Sedano on my show. I'm hopefully they.
Hey, they're great guys. You're not using me to get them, man. You already asked for Jessica Alba. Bother someone else. No, I'm just kidding. But all of these guys are such great talents, and everyone has their specialty, from Clinton Yates to Field Yates. There's so much young talent there, and it's just a cool place to be involved with right now.
Yeah, so I had a few. Actually, I had a few ESPN people on my show already. Like I had Tony Collins on my show, Anita Collins. I had,
Dude, Tony Collins,
yeah,
and both of them, they're great.
yeah.
But Tony Collins is one of my favorites. You know, she is. I root for her so hard. You
Mhm.
know, I watch her all the time on Sports Center. You know, I'll give her credit. She's one of the first people to reach out to me and say, "Hey, welcome to the ESPN family. You're doing a great job." And we've been friends since. And I think she's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are just kicking so much ass at ESPN. Gary Streisky, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he does the Sports Center Snapchat, and he does a lot of Sports Center fill-ins and shows, and Trevor Scales, and dude, I can go on and on with the names. The point is, they're there for a reason. They work hard. They're good at what they do. They're knowledgeable, and they're nice people. Like, they're really cool people that you would enjoy talking to and having a drink with.
Yeah, so I interviewed her. I interviewed Jay Harris on my show. I interviewed,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just an honor for them to come on the show and talk.
Oh,
And
hell yeah.
I had Damian Woody on my show too a couple months back. So
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun and
yeah,
very surreal for, you know, my specialty is radio, dude. That's what I do, and that's what I bring, I think, to the ESPN platform, like the nonsense, the fun, and the gift of gab and interviewing people.
mhm.
To see what they do and to see what they're good at, it's fun as a fan to watch them and be a part of it.
And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and the essential workers?
No,
Wow.
no, of course, yeah, yeah, of course, man. Look, the frontliners is what we're talking about,
Mhm.
right?
And
Anyone out there putting their life in jeopardy to keep America or to keep the world going, I give props to. I salute you. Whether it be the over the road truck drivers, right, or the mail carriers, props to you and your funny little outfits. Thank you so much for keeping it moving. Thanks to the nurses. I have nurses in my family. You know, um, where would we be without you guys? I wouldn't want to do that stuff. That's why I do what I do. I'm a clown. I'm not capable of doing what the nurses and the doctors are doing. You know, these high pressure scenarios and situations. If you're on a front line, serving the country, serving the people, you're way bigger than I could ever be. And I love you for it, and I respect it, and I'm grateful.
Hmm. So well said. And there he is. Just want to say
Was it?
the great Steve Covino from the Covino.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can we make that stick? Let's stick with that. When you talk to Jessica Alba, ask her if she knows the great Steve Covino.
So yeah, so I just want to
She's
say
like, I know the mediocre Steve Covino.
oh god. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming on. This has been an honor. Like I said, you and Rich, you guys do a great job and keep up the awesome work. And now I interviewed you and Rich. Now I just have to figure out how to get your producer on and the rest of the crew on. And but I just want to say thank you again for coming on. And you and your family, stay safe. And
Thank you.
let me know what Jessica Alba says.
All right, I will, man. I will. And I want to thank your audience for listening to this. I hope I didn't bore anybody. I hope I didn't sound too preachy. I'm just doing my best answering Nathan's questions here. But it's a pleasure to be on. I know you have grunt talks. Maybe I'll do that sometime. But
Yeah.
the NR hour,
Mhm.
right? And a shout out to all your friends and followers. Check out Now or Never ESPN. Now or Never ESPN. Follow that, please. Thank you. And Steve Covino. And check me out on Turbo. Like I said, I'm a music guy too. I'm on Turbo, Sirius XM Turbo every weeknight. I'm on my grind. I'm just doing my thing and I'm having fun. I'm trying to be a good person. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So.